Jake's world shatters when he overhears his wife, Maria, plotting to manipulate him like a pawn. Her betrayal cuts deep, but he's no victim. With quiet resolve, Jake flips the script, unraveling her game in a way she never saw coming. This is a story of trust broken, boundaries set, and a man reclaiming his life with calculated precision. Will Maria realize her mistake before it's too late? Jake Torres had a knack for fixing things. At 35, he ran a small auto shop in Miami's Coconut Grove, where neighbors trusted him to patch up their cars, often for free. His hands, calloused from years of wrench turning, could coax a sputtering engine back to life. He coached his nephew's little league team on weekends, high-fiving kids after a good catch. His life with Maria, his wife of 7 years, looked solid from the outside. A tidy bungalow, a scrappy mutt named Max, and Sunday barbecues where laughter carried across the block. But lately, a chill had settled between them, sharp and unyielding. Maria, a marketing exec with a corner office downtown, had changed. Her phone was a constant companion, its glow lighting her face as she scrolled through emails or texts, ignoring Jake's attempts to connect. At night, when he reached for her, she'd brush him off with a sigh, muttering about deadlines or exhaustion. Jake let it slide at first, chalking it up to her big project at work. But the excuses piled up, each one thinner than the last. He wasn't one to pry, but doubt gnawed at him like a loose bolt rattling under a hood. One humid Tuesday evening, Jake came home early from the shop, his boots leaving faint grease marks on the kitchen tile. Max greeted him with a wagging tail, but Maria didn't look up from her phone, perched on the couch. "Long day?" Jake asked, grabbing a water from the fridge. Her thumb flicked across the screen. "Swamped," she said, voice flat. He leaned against the counter, watching her. "You've been swamped for weeks. Want to talk about it?" She exhaled sharply, eyes still glued to her phone. "Not everything's a conversation, Jake." He let the silence hang, heavy as the Miami heat. Then her phone buzzed, and a faint smile curved her lips, not the kind she used to flash at him. Jake's gut twisted. He stepped closer, catching a glimpse of the name on her screen, Alex. Her coworker. The guy who always lingered too long at company parties, cracking jokes that never landed with Jake. "Who's that?" he asked, keeping his tone even. Maria's fingers froze. "Just work stuff," she said, locking the phone and setting it face down. "You wouldn't get it." Jake wasn't a jealous man, but he wasn't blind either. He'd seen Maria's late nights grow frequent, her explanations vaguer. Last week, she'd claimed a client dinner ran long, but her car was parked at the shop by 7 p.m. He'd seen it on his way to grab takeout. He didn't call her out then, hoping he was wrong. But now, her dismissiveness felt like a wall, and Jake wasn't one to beg for a door. "I'm hitting the shower," he said, leaving the kitchen. Max trailed him, whining softly. In the bathroom, steam curled around him as he stood under the water, replaying her words. Not everything's a conversation. Maybe not, but marriage was supposed to be more than a shared address. He dried off, pulled on a clean shirt, and returned to the living room. Maria was gone, her phone too. A post-it on the counter listed tasks: pick up my dry cleaning, drop off package at post office, get cake for Sophia's birthday. Her sister's party was tomorrow, and Jake had always handled the details. Not tonight. He crumpled the note and tossed it in the trash. The next morning, Jake woke at 6 a.m., brewed coffee, and let Max out to the backyard. Maria appeared in the kitchen, her silk robe loose, already typing on her phone. "You didn't grab the cake," she said, not looking up. "I noticed." Jake poured his coffee, black, no sugar. "Figured you'd handle it. It's your sister." Her head snapped up, eyes narrowing. "Since when do you bail on me?" Jake took a slow sip, meeting her gaze. "Since you started treating me like your assistant instead of your husband." Maria's mouth tightened, but she didn't argue. She grabbed her keys and left for work, the door clicking shut. Jake felt a spark of relief, like loosening a too tight bolt. He wasn't sure where this was headed, but he knew one thing. He was done chasing her attention. At the shop, Nate, his oldest friend and fellow mechanic, noticed the shift. "You're quiet today, man," Nate said, sliding a carburetor across the workbench. "Trouble at home?" Jake tightened a spark plug. "Something's off. Maria's acting like I'm a tenant, not a partner." Nate whistled low. "That's cold. You talked to her?" Jake shook his head. "Tried. She's got a wall up, and I'm not begging to climb it." That night, Jake grilled burgers for Sophia's birthday at her parents' house in Coral Gables. Maria played the perfect wife, laughing with relatives, her hand grazing Jake's arm. But when Sophia asked about their anniversary plans, Maria's smile faltered. "Oh, we'll figure something out," she said, squeezing Jake's hand. He didn't squeeze back. Later, as they cleared plates, Jake overheard Maria on the patio, phone pressed to her ear. Alex, it's fine, she whispered. Jake's clueless. Just keep him happy, and we're good. Jake froze, plate in hand. His heart thudded, but he kept his face neutral. He wasn't clueless anymore. Back home, Jake waited until Maria was in bed, her phone charging on the nightstand. He didn't touch it. Trust was broken, but he wasn't a snoop. Instead, he grabbed his laptop and started digging. He checked their shared credit card statement online. A charge from a downtown hotel, dated last Thursday, the night Maria was working late. No client dinner would cost $300 for a single night. Jake's jaw clenched. He closed the laptop, his mind racing. Maria wasn't just distant. She was playing a game, and he was the one being played. Jake didn't sleep. He sat on the couch, Max curled at his feet, and mapped out his next steps. Confronting her now would just spark denials. He needed proof, not accusations. Tomorrow, he'd start pulling back. Bank accounts, errands, all the automatic ways he'd propped up her life. If Maria wanted distance, he'd give it to her, but on his terms. The shop would be his sanctuary, the neighborhood his anchor. He'd coach those kids, fix those cars, and figure out who Maria really was when the mask came off. For the first time in months, Jake felt the wheel in his hands. Jake Torres was done playing the fool. The hotel receipt and Maria's whispered call with Alex burned in his mind, but he kept his cool. At his Coconut Grove auto shop, he tightened bolts and swapped out filters, his hands steady while his thoughts churned. Maria's betrayal wasn't just personal, it was calculated. She thought she could keep him on a leash, oblivious, while she chased her own agenda. Jake wasn't about to let her rewrite their marriage into a one-sided deal. Wednesday morning, he skipped Maria's usual to-do list, dry cleaning, post office run, booking her sister's birthday dinner. Instead, he brewed coffee, fed Max, and headed to the shop early. Maria texted at 8 a.m. "Where's my suit? You didn't pick it up." Jake replied, "Your suit, your schedule." Her response came fast. "Seriously? Don't start this." He left it on read, pocketed his phone, and turned up the radio. The shop's hum of drills and clanging metal drowned out the noise in his head. At noon, Nate, his right-hand man, leaned against a workbench, wiping grease from his hands. "You're moving different today," he said, tossing Jake a soda. "Like you're gearing up for something." Jake cracked the can open. "Maria's playing games. I'm done being her errand boy." Nate raised an eyebrow. "You sure she's stepping out? That's a big leap." Jake shook his head. "Not a leap. I heard her scheming with some guy named Alex. Plus, there's a hotel charge she can't explain." Nate whistled. "That's cold, man. What's your play?" Jake set the soda down. "Distance. I pull back, see how she reacts when I'm not her safety net." That evening, Jake grilled chicken for dinner, but when Maria walked in, she barely glanced at the plate. "You didn't book Sophia's dinner," she said, scrolling her phone. "Now I have to scramble." Jake cut into his food. "You've got hands and a phone. Handle it." Her eyes flashed with irritation. "What's with you? You're acting like I'm the enemy." Jake chewed slowly, letting her words hang. "I'm just matching your energy. You've been checked out for weeks." Maria scoffed, grabbed her keys, and left for the restaurant alone. Jake didn't follow. The next day, he took a bigger step. At the bank, he split their joint savings account, transferring half to a new one under his name. He emailed Maria a spreadsheet detailing their shared bills, mortgage, utilities, Max's vet costs, and marked his contributions. "We split everything 50-50ths now," he wrote. "Let me know if you need clarification." Her reply came within minutes. "You're being ridiculous. This is our marriage, not a business." Jake typed back, "Feels like a business to me lately." He hit send and locked his phone. Friday brought a neighborhood block party, the kind where kids rode scooters and music blared from a portable speaker. Jake manned the grill, flipping burgers for neighbors while Max chased a tennis ball. Maria arrived late, her phone in hand, and slid into the crowd with a practiced smile. She chatted with Mrs. Lopez, their nosy but kind neighbor, about work promotions. Then she turned to Jake, loud enough for others to hear. "Babe, you're so good at this. Too bad you're not this helpful at home." The crowd chuckled, but Jake's jaw tightened. He set the spatula down and faced her. "Let's keep it real, Maria. No jabs in public. That's the deal." Her smile faltered, but she waved it off. "Just joking," she said, voice thin. Mrs. Lopez raised an eyebrow, sensing the tension. Later, as Jake cleaned the grill, he found a crumpled receipt in Maria's purse, left on a picnic table. It was from a bar downtown, time-stamped 2 nights ago, when she'd claimed to be at a client meeting. The receipt listed 2 cocktails and a man's name scrawled in pen, Alex. Jake pocketed it, his pulse steady but his resolve hardening. He wasn't confronting her yet. Proof was stacking, and he needed more. At home, Maria acted like nothing happened, asking him to confirm a weekend getaway she'd booked. "It'll be good for us," she said, touching his arm. Jake stepped back. "I'm not signing up for your plans until we're straight." She frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" He didn't answer, just took Max for a walk. Saturday, Jake rented a small storage unit near the shop. He moved his toolbox, a stack of old baseball cards, and a photo of his dad from the hallway wall. Not leaving yet, but preparing. At the shop, Nate caught him organizing. "You're building an exit ramp," Nate said, half joking. Jake nodded. "Just making sure I've got options if she keeps playing me." That night, Maria tried to smooth things over, cooking tacos and turning on their old playlist. She leaned close, her hand grazing his. "We're good, right?" she asked. Jake pushed his plate away. "Not until you're honest about Alex and that hotel." Her face froze. Then she laughed, too sharp. "You're paranoid." It was work. Jake stood. "I'm sleeping in the guest room tonight. Let me know when you're ready to talk for real." Sunday, Jake coached his nephew's Little League game, cheering as the kid hit a double. Parents clapped, but Jake's mind was on Maria's lies. During a break, he checked his phone. Maria had texted a photo of them from their honeymoon. Caption, "We can get back to this." Jake didn't reply. Instead, he called a friend who worked security at the hotel from the receipt. "Can you check guest logs for last Thursday?" he asked. His friend agreed to dig discreetly. By evening, the friend texted back, "Maria Torres checked in, 8 p.m. Left at midnight. Room booked by Alex Rivera." Jake saved the message, his plan crystallizing. He'd let Maria think she was in control, but he was already 3 steps ahead, ready to flip the script. Jake Torres had proof now, Maria's hotel stay with Alex, confirmed by his friend's text. The betrayal was no longer a suspicion but a fact, etched in a time-stamped guest log. At his Coconut Grove auto shop, he focused on a rusted chassis, wrench in hand, but his mind was on the next move. He wasn't out for blood, just clarity. Maria thought she could manipulate him, keep him tethered while she played her game. Jake was about to change the rules. Monday morning, he woke in the guest room, Max snoring at the foot of the bed. Maria was already in the kitchen, tapping her phone, a half-eaten bagel on the counter. "We need to talk about Sophia's party," she said, not looking up. "You didn't RSVP." Jake poured coffee, his voice steady. "I'm not your secretary. You want it done, do it." She set her phone down, exasperated. "You're making everything harder than it needs to be." Jake met her gaze. "No, you did that when you started sneaking around with Alex." Her eyes widened, but she recovered fast. "You're obsessed. There's nothing going on." Jake sipped his coffee, letting her lie sit in the air. He didn't need to argue, not yet. At the shop, Jake took another step. He called his bank and canceled their shared credit card, replacing it with one in his name only. He emailed Maria a PDF outlining their new financial split. Mortgage, car insurance, even Max's food, divided 50/50ths. "No more joint accounts," he wrote. "Pay your share by the 1st. Her reply was instant. "This is insane. You're punishing me for nothing." Jake didn't respond. He was done debating with someone who thought truth was optional. That afternoon, Nate caught him checking his phone during a break. "You're building a case, aren't you?" Nate asked, tossing a rag over his shoulder. Jake nodded. "Found a bar receipt with Alex's name. Hotel log says she checked in with him. I'm not confronting her until I've got it airtight." Nate leaned closer. "You sure you want to play detective? Could just walk away." Jake shook his head. "Walking's easy. I want her to face what she's done." Nate clapped his shoulder. "Just don't lose yourself in it, man." Tuesday night, Maria upped her act. She ordered takeout from Jake's favorite Cuban spot, ropa vieja, plantains, the works, and lit candles on the dining table. "Let's reset," she said, handing him a plate. "We've been off. I want us back." Jake sat but didn't eat. "Reset starts with honesty. Tell me about Alex and the hotel." Her fork froze midair. "You're still on that?" "It was a work thing." Jake pulled the bar receipt from his pocket and slid it across the table. "Work doesn't leave love notes on receipts." Maria's hand shook as she picked it up, but she doubled down. "You're twisting this. Alex is just a colleague." Jake stood. "I'm not twisting anything. I'm seeing it clear." He left the food untouched and walked Max under the streetlights, his resolve like steel. Wednesday, Jake dug deeper. He asked his friend at the hotel for security footage from that night. "Can't share video," his friend texted, "but I saw the log. Alex paid for the room. They left together." Jake saved the message, another piece of his case. He also checked Maria's LinkedIn and found Alex Rivera's profile, her work friend, with a smug grin in his headshot, recently promoted to her team. Jake's stomach turned, but he stayed focused. He wasn't building a cage for Maria. He was building a mirror. Thursday brought the tipping point. Maria's sister, Sophia, invited them to a family dinner at their parents' house in Coral Gables. Jake agreed to go, not for Maria, but for Sophia, who'd always been kind. At the dinner, Maria played her role, laughing with cousins, passing the flan, her hand resting on Jake's knee. But when Sophia asked about their summer plans, Maria chimed in. Jake's been so busy, I'm basically planning alone. Her tone was light, but the jab landed. Jake set his glass down. Actually, I'm not too busy to notice you checking into hotels with Alex. The table went silent. Maria's parents exchanged glances. Sophia's fork clattered. Jake, Maria hissed. This isn't the place. He leaned forward. You made it the place when you started lying. I have the receipt. The hotel log. Your call with him. Maria's face drained of color. You're embarrassing me, she whispered. Jake stood, addressing Sophia's parents. I'm sorry for this. I just can't pretend anymore. He walked out, leaving Maria to face her family's questions. Friday morning, Jake moved more of his things to the storage unit. His dad's old fishing gear, a box of tools he rarely used. He wasn't leaving yet, but he was ready to. Maria texted, We need to talk. I messed up. Jake didn't reply. Instead, he called a lawyer friend, Elena, and asked about divorce papers. You got evidence? Elena asked. Plenty. Jake said, listing the receipt, hotel log, and texts. Start documenting everything, she advised. Keep it clean, no fights. Jake agreed. He wasn't out to destroy Maria, just to free himself. That night, Maria waited in the kitchen, her phone off for once. I didn't sleep with him, she said, voice low. It was just drinks, flirting. I got carried away. Jake crossed his arms. You booked a hotel room. You laughed about keeping me in line. That's not flirting, that's a plan. She stepped closer, eyes pleading. I was stressed. Work's been brutal. I didn't mean to hurt you. Jake didn't budge. You didn't just hurt me. You tried to control me. That's worse. He turned and locked the guest room door, Max curling up beside him. Maria's footsteps faded down the hall. Jake stared at the ceiling, not angry but certain. The game was over, and he was ready to show her the score. Jake Torres had drawn his line. After exposing Maria's lies at her family's dinner, he felt lighter, like he'd shed a weight he'd carried too long. Her hotel rendezvous with Alex, her scheming calls, her attempts to spin him as the problem. It was all out in the open now. In their Coconut Grove home, the air was thick with tension, but Jake stayed calm. He wasn't fighting for scraps of her loyalty anymore. He was building a life that didn't depend on her. Saturday morning, Jake packed a duffel bag, work boots, a stack of manuals, Max's leash, and drove to a small apartment he'd rented near Miami Beach. He didn't tell Maria he was moving out, just left a note on the kitchen counter. I'm staying elsewhere. Bills are split. Let me know if you need to discuss logistics. Max hopped into the truck, tail wagging, as if he sensed the shift. Jake rented the place through a friend, a no-frills spot with a view of the ocean. He set up a dog bed for Max and a folding chair for himself, then called his lawyer friend, Elena. I want a file, he said. Clean, no drama. Elena promised to draft the divorce papers by Monday. Maria's texts flooded in by noon. You can't just leave like this. We need to fix it. Jake replied once. You fixed it when you chose Alex over honesty. Read the note. She called, but he let it go to voicemail. Her voice cracked through the speaker. Jake, please. I'll go to therapy. I'll cut Alex off. He deleted the message. Promises were cheap when they came after proof. Instead, he drove to the shop, where Nate was swapping tires on a pickup. You're out? Nate asked, reading Jake's face. Halfway, Jake said, got a place. Papers are coming. Nate nodded. Good. You're not the one who should be running. Sunday, Jake coached his nephew's Little League game, shouting encouragement as the kid stole a base. Parents cheered, but Jake's focus wavered when he saw Maria's car pull into the lot. She stayed at a distance, watching from the bleachers. After the game, she approached, holding a coffee cup, his usual order. Can we talk? She asked, offering it. Jake took the cup, but set it on a bench. Talk's over. You had your shot. Her eyes darted to the parents nearby, who pretended not to listen. You're humiliating me, she whispered. You humiliated yourself, Jake said, walking to his truck. Max jumped in, and they left her standing there. Monday, Jake met Elena at a diner to review the divorce papers. She slid a folder across the table. You've got the hotel receipt, the bar note, the security log, she said. It's enough for a clean split. No alimony if you both agree to walk away. Jake signed where she pointed. I just want out, he said. Back at the shop, he found a new text from Maria. Alex was a mistake. I'm done with him. Let's meet. Jake didn't bite. Instead, he checked their shared cloud drive, where Maria had uploaded a calendar invite. Couples counseling, Wednesday, 6 p.m. He declined it and texted, no more schedules. We're past that. Tuesday brought fallout. Maria's sister, Sophia, called Jake. Mom's furious, she said. She says Maria's a mess, crying all the time. What happened? Jake kept it brief. She was sneaking around with a coworker, lying about it. I'm done. Sophia went quiet. She swore it was just work stress. Jake sent her a screenshot of the hotel log. Work doesn't book rooms for two. Sophia didn't call back. At work, Maria faced her own consequences. Jake's friend at the hotel mentioned Alex had bragged about their meetings to colleagues, and word spread. Maria's boss called her in, questioning her professionalism. She lost her shot at the promotion she'd been chasing. Wednesday, Jake took Max for a run along the beach, the salt air clearing his head. He stopped by the storage unit to grab his dad's fishing rod, planning a solo trip to the Keys. His phone buzzed. Mrs. Lopez, the neighbor. Maria is telling people you're overreacting, she said. Says you're throwing away a good thing. Jake laughed dryly. She threw it away first. I'm just cleaning up. Mrs. Lopez sighed. You're a good man, Jake. Don't let this break you. He hung up, grateful for her words, but certain he wasn't broken, just recalibrating. Thursday night, Maria showed up at the shop, catching Jake as he locked up. I ended it with Alex, she said, stepping closer. I told my boss everything. I'm trying to fix this. Jake crossed his arms. You fixed it when you planned to keep me in line. I heard you, Maria. You don't get to rewrite that. She reached for his hand, but he stepped back. I'm filing tomorrow, he said. You'll get the papers. Her shoulders slumped, but she nodded. I didn't think you'd go this far. Jake opened his truck door. I didn't think you'd go as far as you did. Friday, Jake dropped the signed papers at Elena's office. He spent the evening at the beach, Max chasing waves. His phone stayed quiet. No texts, no calls. For the first time in weeks, he slept through the night. The oceans hum outside his window. Maria's world was unraveling, but Jake's was coming into focus. He wasn't running from her betrayal. He was walking toward a life where trust wasn't a bargaining chip. The divorce was just paperwork now. The real work was already done. Jake had reclaimed his freedom, one deliberate step at a time. Jake Torres had closed the chapter on Maria. The divorce papers were filed, their Coconut Grove home was a memory, and he was settled in his Miami Beach apartment with Max, his loyal dog. He'd dismantled the life Maria had tried to control, piece by deliberate piece. Now, months later, Jake was forging a new path, one built on his terms. Maria's betrayal had left scars, but they were fading. He wasn't chasing closure. He was creating it. Saturday morning, Jake woke to the sound of waves outside his window. He brewed coffee and took Max for a jog along the boardwalk, the early sun glinting off the water. At his auto shop, he'd started a side hustle restoring vintage cars, a passion project that kept his hands busy and his mind clear. Today, he was sanding a '67 Mustang, the roar of the sander grounding him. Nate, his best friend, rolled up on a stool. You're looking lighter, man, Nate said, tossing him a bottle of water. Divorce final yet? Jake caught it. Next week. Just dotting I's. Nate grinned. Good. You're not just surviving, you're building. Maria, meanwhile, faced the ripple effects of her actions. She'd moved to a condo in downtown Miami, a smaller place with no yard for Max, who stayed with Jake. At work, her reputation took a hit after Alex's loose talk about their hotel meetups reached her boss. The promotion she'd angled for went to a colleague. Her sister, Sophia, kept her distance, stung by the truth Jake had shared at the family dinner. Maria sent Jake a letter through Elena, his lawyer. I know I messed up. I treated you like a means to an end. I'm sorry. Jake read it once, then filed it away. Apologies didn't undo choices. Sunday, Jake volunteered at a community cleanup, hauling trash from a local park with neighbors. Mrs. Lopez, ever the neighborhood sentinel, pulled him aside. Maria's telling folks she's changed, she said, handing him a lemonade. Says she's in therapy. Jake shrugged. Hope it helps her. Doesn't change my road. Mrs. Lopez patted his arm. You've got a good heart, Jake. Don't let it harden. He nodded, but his heart wasn't hard. Just guarded, open only to those who earned it. Monday, Jake met Sophia for coffee at a cafe near the shop. She'd reached out, wanting to clear the air. I didn't know how bad it was, she said, stirring her latte. Maria's always been strategic. I thought she'd grow out of it. Jake sipped his black coffee. She made her choices. I made mine. Sophia hesitated. She wants to meet, maybe reconcile. Jake shook his head. I'm not a revolving door. She can rebuild her life. I'm rebuilding mine. Sophia nodded, respecting his finality. Tuesday evening, Jake attended a Little League game, cheering as his nephew hit a triple. There, he met Lauren, a teacher volunteering as the team's scorekeeper. She handed him a roster, their fingers brushing. You're the coach who never yells, she said, smiling. Jake laughed. Kids don't need yelling. They need a push. They talked after the game, swapping stories about fixing cars and grading papers. Lauren's honesty was refreshing. No games, no hidden agendas. When she suggested grabbing tacos sometime, Jake said, name the day. Wednesday, the divorce finalized. Elena texted, papers signed. You're free. Jake celebrated quietly, grilling steaks for Nate and his wife at his apartment. Max snoozed on the balcony, content. Nate raised a beer. To new starts. Jake clinked his bottle. To keeping it real. Later, he scrolled through his phone, deleting old photos of Maria. One lingered, a shot of them at a beach bonfire laughing. He felt a pang but swiped it away. That life was gone. This one was his. Thursday, Jake took Lauren to a food truck park. They split fish tacos and talked about their dreams. Hers to open a tutoring center, his to restore a classic car for a cross-country trip. When she paid for her half of the meal, she said, no scorekeeping. Just us. Jake nodded, liking her clarity. They walked the beach afterward, Max trotting ahead. Lauren didn't push or pry, and Jake felt something ease inside him, a trust he hadn't known in years. Friday, Jake got a text from an unknown number. You look happy. I'm glad. Attached was a photo of his truck parked outside the shop, taken from across the street. He knew it was Maria. He typed, I am. Hope you find it too, then blocked the number. No backdoors, no second chances. That night, he joined neighbors for a block party, flipping burgers like old times. Mrs. Lopez watched him, then whispered, You're home now, aren't you? Jake smiled. Yeah, took a while, but I'm here. The moral settled quietly in Jake's bones. Respect isn't a currency to be traded, and trust isn't a tool to be wielded. Maria had treated their marriage like a transaction, but Jake had walked away with something better, his integrity. He coached kids, fixed cars, and shared tacos with a woman who saw him as a partner, not a pawn. His life was simpler now, not because it was empty, but because it was honest. And in that honesty, Jake found a peace that no one could take away.